Welcome to the Stronger Together podcast brought to you by Sandpoint Strength and Conditioning. I'm your coach, Kenny Marquardt, and I'm here with another one of your coaches, Crystal Baines. She's been with us a long time and has a really cool story. So I'm excited that she has decided to join me this afternoon. Welcome, Crystal.
Thanks for having me.
So let's get into it. Let's talk about how you started at the gym. I actually vaguely remember this because it was a while ago, but
It was a while ago.
yeah, let's hear it from you.
So gosh, almost 9 years ago now, I think. I just moved back to Sandpoint. I was a newly single mom of 5 kids, I might add.
Yeah.
So I had a full plate. I was working full time and just trying to find balance. I think I had an issue that a lot of moms have where I had given of myself completely in my marriage and to my kids and had kind of lost myself a little bit. And in that, had lost a lot of my health. And so I realized something needed to change. And this is weird, and I don't think I ever told you, I had been following CrossFit for a long time, and I had been fascinated by it since about 2009, actually. Yeah. And I had always wanted to try it. And every time I mentioned it to anyone, they would be like, that's crazy. You're crazy. That's so extreme. What are you doing? But I always just had that in the back of my mind that I wanted to try it. And so when I found, which was at that time, CrossFit Sandpoint, I tried to get some friends to go with me because, strength in numbers.
Totally.
And I talked one of my guy friends into joining with me, and we joined the gym. And I think I stood you up a couple times before we actually fully committed and locked him down because I was determined to not come by myself initially. And yeah, I fell in love with it.
That is so funny. So Lisa stood us up before she started. She scheduled and then show. So that's 2 of you in a row. Yeah, no kidding, right? But yeah, I remember that. I remember who you started with. I think, did we do like some foundations or did we?
We loosely did. I don't know that we were calling it foundations at that point, but yeah, we did. And I was so out of shape. I remember you ran with me around the block because I don't think either one of us were convinced I would make it and be okay running around the block. So we've come a little way since then.
Definitely. Yeah, there's been, we can get into some other stuff, but yeah, there's I think the one time I rescued with your inhaler, that was that was maybe not in the same vein, but I don't think I rescued you. That's maybe not the right way
you might have
put it, but yeah.
There's been a few moments of that in the gym.
Yeah. So that's funny. Funny now. I don't know how funny it was at the time. I bet that was I don't know, intimidating, kind of tough experience.
Do you know what I remember? I remember my first actual workout, and there was a woman there who was 9 months pregnant at the time who was just lapping me, and what a humbling experience to just, have this. I didn't know what a badass she was at the time, but this badass 9-month pregnant woman just running and kicking my butt and having me just have a reality check of like, I need to get it together here. I'm in some trouble. Like, I need to make some changes. And that was really motivating.
Yeah, that's the right response. And I don't mean that that's a compliment to you for sure, because a lot of people to the negative, I think, see that, not necessarily pregnant women, but like women in general, or I think I see this especially with men. They see somebody who's way out in front of them and they take it as a discouraging, like they can't do it, or I don't know, they just kind of disqualify themselves because they feel like they're so far behind, rather than with you, like you've been, as far as I know, like incredibly consistent. Like there's been no big breaks. There's been nothing. Like you've been just here damn near every day since then.
I think the longest break I've ever had was 2 weeks, and that was due to illness and injury more than anything. But I mean, I've worked through I've hurt myself a few times, not necessarily at the gym, but just, living life and aging. And I've found ways to work through it. The gym is my happy place.
Yeah, I love that. And you've had an immense amount of progress, especially in the last, I don't know, 18 months or so. I mean, you've had, again, your strides over the last 8 or 9 years, whatever it is. But I don't know, I think your stories, what's the total that you're at for weight loss? What are some other numbers? Like you've had some pretty kick-ass stuff that.
Body fat percentage lost. I am close to 16% body fat percentage lost now in the last 2 years. I actually started 2 years ago, December 26th. So almost exactly.
Yeah.
And I finally came to the realization that I could not outwork a bad diet as much as I tried. I gave it real valiant effort
Yep.
to do
Yep.
that and realized I needed to dial that in. And I hired a nutrition coach for myself
Yeah.
because while we all know what we should do in theory, I needed that accountability. And so that's what worked for me. And I recommend that to
Awesome.
everyone who needs that as well. And I just dialed it in and I honed in my training a little bit more. I already had really great habits established. So for me, that was the easy part. Going to the gym, I already had that down.
Yep.
That was no problem. It really was on the nutrition side that I needed the additional help. What a difference it's made. I think I would say early start to finish, like when I really truly started at the gym to now, I'm down. I think I did the math a few months ago with you and it was almost 100 pounds.
Yeah. That was awesome.
So pretty big difference. But I think for me, the exciting part was like, especially in the last 2 years, my weight loss has not come at the loss of muscle.
Yeah.
I've actually gained muscle, which is something
Amazing.
that's really hard to do, but I'm pretty proud of that. I've not only maintained, but gained muscle mass at the same time. So pretty excited about that.
Totally. Yeah. No, that's amazing. I mean, it's been super cool to witness and watch and be a part of. And again, I think there's a lot of lessons there. I mean, you've made tremendous fitness progress over the last 9 years. I wish we had data from that,
Oh,
like, wouldn't that be
man.
cool?
Well, I mean, I think there's a few things like I have really severe asthma. I have eosinophilic asthma. And so I used to use that as a very limiting factor for myself. And now I've learned to work with that, not against it. And, I've made a lot of strides. And I think when I started at the gym, just running literally was a trigger every time for my asthma. But now I've made it to progress to the point where I can not only run, but I can run for miles
Yeah.
and do it well and learning my pacing and what works for me and my body. And I'm just so excited to show others that as well. And I think, just fitness wise, I mean, I remember when I started, I couldn't do a squat,
Yep.
to the ground. I couldn't jump rope. I couldn't do just so many of what I would consider now a basic movement. I really, truly was at that point of my fitness journey of really bare bones. And so I've come a long way. I'm not an overnight success by any means. There's nothing quick about me ever and my progress. But I've, like you said, been consistent and just slowly ticking away at it.
Yeah. I'm not aware of any overnight successes. Like, for whatever that's worth, I think that that's everybody. And I think that the journey is, it's just putting deposits in every day and being consistent. And then all of a sudden, like, everybody thinks you're an overnight success, right? Because
Yes.
I do feel like that for you. Like, I think that with the weight loss over the last 2 years, like, there has been that kind of like, holy crap, what's happened? Like, but that's not been, it wasn't even just those last two. It was like building the foundation over before that and then some tweaks. But so realistically, you're overnight. And well, let's call it like even when you started following CrossFit. I mean, it's been what, 15 years since that. And so it's not, again, I think it's just hard, consistent work, and showing up and continuing to do the thing and then making tweaks along the way as you need further refinements.
Exactly. And I think, as any athlete will tell you, because I can consider myself that at this point,
Heck
is
yeah.
you're always progressing. So I'm hoping to continue to progress and keep just getting better and working on the nuances and, different goals throughout my athletic life.
Do you ever feel like that's going to end?
No,
Yeah. Great. I
no,
agree.
I
Glad you
think like my quick answer is no, I don't see it ending at
totally.
all.
I think that's, I mean, again, I didn't lead you there, but I was kind of hoping that was your answer, and that I don't, I think it's just a lifelong thing. We get people in the gym that it's like, oh, this, 90 days or a month or by this time. And I think that realistically, you kind of have to set that mindset of like, this is just forever.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you have to like try and kill yourself forever, but you have to just show up forever. Like, this is just a lifelong thing. And I think you enjoy it. Like you said, the gym's kind of your happy place, but, I think that just kind of setting yourself with that mindset of doing this forever is probably the right way to do it.
Well, I think for me too, when I say the gym is my happy place, I mean, I do enjoy going there. But there are days that are hard, just
Yeah.
like anyone else. There are days that I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
There are days where I'm dragging myself through the door. But I know that just let alone the physical aspects of it, my mental health is like really where it's at. And For me, like early when I started at the gym, I was battling depression. That was a definite issue for me and anxiety. And once I realized the difference of coming to the gym and having those habits, like the type of mom that I am at home on the days that I don't work out versus the days that I do, are two very different people. And even my kids will now ask, Mom, did you get your workout in? They too can tell the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. How hard was it at the beginning to keep going, or was it?
It wasn't hard for me to want to go. I was pretty determined. I was all in at that point. Once I came through the doors, that was me committing.
Yeah.
So I knew I was going to be there. And in total honesty, Kenny, I don't know if you realized when I first started at the gym as a newly divorced single, I was so broke. I was so broke. And so for me, the investment in myself, I was going to get my money's worth.
Yeah.
I was going to be there because there is no way that I could pay that amount for a gym membership and not show up just as often as I can to get every dime's worth of my money there. So
Totally.
for me, that was a really easy decision that I was going to do. And I took full advantage of the kids' room, and much to the detriment of other members at that time when my kids were popping in and out nonstop harassing me till they were old enough to do their own thing at home while I would come to the gym. I took advantage of it.
Yeah, good. I mean, that's what it's there for. And I think that what's cool about that too is like watching your kids grow up. I mean, for the last 9 years, like I've watched your kids grow up, and I've watched them like get locked away in the kid cage, and then they're driving around, like, which is wild.
It's wild. My oldest is graduated now, and my youngest is 11. It's crazy.
Yeah. I can't believe we're this old. Like, I can't believe this has progressed to this point where
Yes,
we could be that. Yeah. I love that mindset too, where, yeah, it can be an investment to start at our gym, whichever program you're in. But that attitude of, if you're there a ton, like, it really works out to be, I don't know, it's still not necessarily cheap, but I think I've done the math. It's like $7 or $8 a session if you're there 4 times a week.
yeah.
And to have, in my opinion, hopefully in your opinion too, the coaches that we have and the expertise that we have and the support and all that stuff, like, to have essentially a personal trainer and a supportive group around you for $8 a day or whatever is pretty, I think it's pretty good. But if you don't go, yeah, it can be really expensive. If you're paying $165 per session if you go once a month. That's not such a good investment. So yeah, that's cool. Tell me about so what was the biggest thing in the nutrition side that was the biggest change for you?
I think for me, like most people, like most women, anyone who's trying to lose weight, you want the quick solution. And for years, that's what I wanted. I wanted to lose that 20 pounds like really fast. But I think over the course of my fitness journey, I realized that, like I said, the good things that last are not quick. And I didn't want to lose weight one more time just to gain it right back.
Yeah.
And so I needed something that was doable for the rest of my life. And I needed something that kind of took that decision fatigue out for me, especially as a busy working mom. I needed something that someone else could just tell me, you just need to follow this plan and you need to do it.
Yep.
And I'm great at following directions.
Yep.
I can do that. And so that for me was the biggest piece for me. And just committing to it. I mean, just like my daily gym habits, I needed to make that commitment that this is what I was going to do. And I think once I solidly committed and realized there was going to be ups and downs, and that was okay, and to not beat myself up, that I didn't have to be 100% perfect all the time. I think that was the biggest mindset shift, that, it's okay if I slip up on my nutrition, and instead of waiting, I'll start again on Monday, just getting back to it at the next meal as soon as I could. Like, I'm back on track now. Yes, I messed up. That's okay.
Yeah.
Life moves forward.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, that's like, you are like, all the things you're saying that's it. Like, that's the norm, not the norm. It's what should be the norm. And I think what I'm trying to appreciate is that you are doing exactly what you're able to now say as a coach, which I want to transition into talking about that. But like the not overnight, if you make a misstep, just get back on the horse. Not that big of a deal. The consistency, again, all those things are just like, you are just such an exemplary model of this achievement that you are still achieving, but from where you've started to where you are now, like, such a massive achievement. And I think it's just like you've done it in such a cool and powerful way that, like, this is this is just who you are. This is your identity. How much does that feel comfortable for you? Like, do you feel that way? Like, what's your identity now?
I I do feel that way now.
Cool.
And I just had to hesitate to really think about that. I do feel that way now, and it's transitioned into other aspects of my life as well. So it's not just at the gym. My kids see that example. And so my kids talk about their mom who goes to the gym and how much she can lift and how she's jacked. And that's a pretty cool thing. Or like, for example, a couple of my kids do jujitsu, and that's brought me into there. Once I gained the confidence that I could do hard things from the gym here, I was able to get out of my comfort zone and go try new things, at this other gym at North Idaho Jiu Jitsu. And now I'm a coach at North Idaho Jiu Jitsu for Krav Maga. And like, who would have thought 8 years ago that I would be coaching that, let alone coaching here at this gym where I started? So
Yeah.
it's really kind of enveloped my life at this point in all aspects. And that's a pretty cool place to be.
Yeah. That's sweet. That is so cool. So yeah, let's talk about that. How'd you get into? Tell me about your start in coaching here, and I've got a perspective on this too. But yeah,
Sure.
let me hear your side of
Well,
it.
for me, I'm friends with a lot of the coaches, of course, and so talking with everyone, realizing that some of these people are having a hard time getting coverage for days off, things like that, when they need to. Amanda, one of the coaches, had approached me to ask if this was something I'd be interested in. That my name had come up, and I was kind of like, "Me, really? I mean, sure, I'm happy to help out, but I don't know that I'm really going to be the right fit for this." I didn't see myself as a coach.
Yeah.
I love helping people. I was definitely helping people in class, and I was more than happy to do that way, but I didn't know that I had the right knowledge base to be a coach. So that's kind of how it started. I just was happy to help out and
Yeah.
like fill a spot where it was needed.
Yeah. I mean, your name not only had come up, but it was one of those like, oh my gosh, like if she would do this, that would be the most amazing thing ever. And for all the reasons, like for how we got here through just a cursory overview of your journey, like all the things that you're saying are the things that people need to hear. And I think it's really important for them to hear it from somebody who's actually done it. And I think that you have how many people are surprised to hear where you started from to where you are now? Like, how much do you share that? And like, what's their reaction when you tell them that if you do?
I do tell people that. I don't know that I necessarily bring it up unless it's kind of brought up to me.
Hey, I
Uh,
lost 100 pounds. Nice to meet you.
yeah, so it's kind of weird. But I think, you know, I have that relationship that I can build with people who are just starting at the gym. Like I've been there, and they'll kind of look at me like I'm crazy
Yeah,
because what do you know?
totally.
And I'm like, well, I actually do know, and here's why. So let me tell you a little bit about myself.
Yeah.
And so I'll say that, and I don't think people believe me until I show them pictures.
Yep.
And so once I have that proof, which by the way, those pictures are really hard to find. I was amazing at hiding from all cameras at all points, but I do have a few, and so it's kind of cool to see them and look back and see where I was then to where I was now, where I am now, and where I'm going. It's Yeah, people really don't believe me.
Totally.
And I
Yeah.
think there's so few people left at the gym anymore who were there when I started
Yeah.
to really truly know. Like there's a few of you guys who really saw me where I started to where I am now. And so you guys can appreciate the difference, but I don't think most people really understand how far I've come on my fitness journey.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But again, I think that when I say things, it's again, I've said this before, just a disclaimer. Like I don't know how it sounds, but I've just always been an athlete. Like I came out of the womb doing sports and working out, and like that was my norm. And so when I tell people, hey, like you got to show up every day and it's going to pay off, or, small changes, consistent, whatever it is, like it's all, I've worked with, I don't know how many people at this point. So I have the experience to be able to say, hey, when I've worked with people, this is the successful way that they've approached it. But when you have the personal experience and the way to relate and the way to talk through it and say, this is what I've gone through, I've been in your shoes, like there's no more powerful way to coach or to be able to relate to people and say, hey, I've been there, like I get it.
It's not just the cliche saying like I really have been there. And
Totally.
so I think people resonate with that for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you've been coaching for what, like 6 months, not even.
A little bit more now, but not much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that, to be fair, I think you've always, maybe not always from the very beginning, but from the early onset, like I think you've taken a nurturing relationship to a lot of people. Like you've always kind of had that perspective in class. So you've probably, you've been unofficially coaching for 7 or 8 years, but in an official capacity for a couple, 6 months or 8 months or whatever. And so the opinion for where you're bringing the stuff from, like your experience in the gym and your nurturing nature and your experience has just turned you into such a phenomenal coach. And what I've witnessed over those 6 or 8 months is like people really, like, they fall in love with you. And I mean that in a platonic way, but
Yeah.
like they think that they hold you in such high regard, and they keep coming to the gym, and the people that you work with just like, they just stick. And I think that that's such an important aspect to do it, because like you said, it takes a long time, and the just showing up every day and knowing that it's not going to be a 90-day transformation necessarily, like that means a lot. And so
And I think if you can get through to people, for me, what I try and stress is like, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
yeah.
I think I have no pride left in the gym.
Yep.
I've lost
Yep.
it all.
Yeah.
And anytime I think I might be getting some, no, I
Yeah.
am humbled yet again. And I think in all aspects of just life, I think just being humble and allowing yourself to be uncomfortable and just know that it's going to be okay. Even when it's really hard,
Yep.
that's okay. You
Yeah.
don't want it to be easy, because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it and everybody would have already accomplished their goals.
Yeah.
So I think just really, truly just adopting that mantra of like, it's okay to be uncomfortable.
Totally. How, I mean, I think that people get intimidated by the group realistically. And again, I have a very biased answer to this, but like, how supportive versus like mean, like on a spectrum, is it, are people supportive or are they intimidating, or both?
I don't think I've experienced mean there,
Yeah.
unless it's coming from my close friends. And that's a whole other story.
Right.
I mean,
Sure.
and they're being mean in like a supportive way, if
Yeah.
you will, of kind of giving me crap. But I think I found nothing but support. In fact, in some of my early memories, one of the members sat on the ground and cried with me
Yeah.
when I was just really brought low one time. And not that that's a normal thing at the gym, it's not, but it just happened to be the space that I was in at that time.
Yeah.
And she sat and she cried with me. And that for me was like exactly what I needed in that moment. And I don't know anywhere else that we could go and get that same experience
Yeah.
of just people who really, truly just want to see you succeed.
It's a safe enough place that you can. And I'm at the front of it, so I feel that way. But like I think it is a safe enough place that you can cry, and that you are going to find somebody who's going to, or everybody, depending on the situation, who's going to be there to support and just sit with you. And that was Terry.
It was Terry.
Yeah.
Terry McGurk.
Yep.
I love her. And I see her walk in all the time and wave. And I just have such affectionate feelings for her because of that moment and her just being her. And that was her true self. And, sitting down and her telling me I've been there.
Yep.
It's hard. And she cried with me. And it was one of my most memorable experiences early on. Is just having that.
Yeah. We talked about that. You and I talked about that story. Maybe I can't remember.
I think you and I talked about it.
Yeah, we must have. And I brought it because I'm working with her now. Yeah. And it was just a good reflection, again, for somebody who's been there, for both of you guys have been there a very, very long time, and to like think back on that. And yeah, she's just a super special person. And so are you, and you're both still here. So that's
We're
pretty
both
cool.
Here.
Exactly. But the supportive nature of it, I guess, is the point, where coming in as somebody who, I don't know if you consider yourself an athlete at the time.
Definitely did not.
Yeah. But to get to walk in the doors, be fine, have me run around the block with you, which could be taken as like, I don't know, might be discouraging in a way, to feel like, this guy's got to like, walk around the block with me. I don't know. Maybe that's not discouraging to you, but it shouldn't be. But anyways, I think some people will be like, oh my gosh, I'm a burden. Like, this person's got to do this. But to be here this much longer.
I think luckily I never felt that way.
Good.
But I also knew where I was at. I'm very realistic.
Yeah.
And so I knew where I was at and what was happening. But I think I just lost my train of thought. I don't know.
No, that's okay. I think that why I said that was, I hear, not commonly, but every so often when somebody leaves, like, I just feel like I'm too like I feel like I'm a burden. I feel like I'm too slow, or I
I
feel like
have heard
I'm
people say, like, I need to get in better shape to
yeah,
start at the gym,
right,
which is just the craziest thing to me.
right,
And I think if you wait until the right time, there's never going to be a good time. There's never a
totally,
good time.
right.
Just do it now.
And you're not a burden, and nobody
Yeah.
cares, and everybody's just there to
It's
like
just,
totally, yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's pretty darn cool. What do you love about coaching now?
I take immense pleasure, and I've surprised myself with this, honestly, in watching the people I'm coaching who think that they can't do whatever the movement is. Not only do it, but just crush it
Yeah,
and nail it. And that just excites me
yeah,
so much to watch them succeed in that and to get excited about what they're doing. I think a lot of people come in really nervous
yeah,
and unsure. And so to watch them leave and feeling really good about what they just did, that is gold for me.
yeah. That's awesome. I feel the same way. Because I mean, you initially when we talked, it was like, yeah, I could probably do some fill in stuff. And you got a handful of personal training, and like I think, yeah, you're doing more and more and more,
Yeah.
and so it seems like you're enjoying it.
I I surprised myself. Like I said, I really wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it when I started, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah,
I get a lot of pleasure from it. So it doesn't feel like work for me. And I think when you are doing something that doesn't feel like work for you, that's a definite sign that you should be doing more of this.
yeah, totally. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, let's talk about that. I mean, some of the I don't know. What are some of your more memorable like events, or what's like what are some things that stand out over the last for either as a coach or as an athlete? Either way, it doesn't.
I think I have some definite moments that stand out. One of them would be my first Murph that I participated in. Bill Hunter talked me into it, and he's like, "Yeah, just show up." I'd been a member all of like 2 months. I think at that point it's going to be great. And I walked in to these crazy people. I'm doing this insane workout that I knew nothing about, but I heard the speech. It was really moving. That was something I could get behind. And so I'm like, all right, let's do this. And I remember you being there and you quickly tapering that down. I mean, like, let's try maybe like a half or a quarter
Yeah,
and start there. And that was great. I survived. But I remember just watching everybody and just being in awe of these people who could do this, to me, what seemed like this amazing feat.
yeah,
And then I compare that to the last Murph I just did, where I was able to do the whole Murph and not only do the whole Murph, but like do it well. And like, well, I wasn't weighted. I wasn't in a weighted vest by any means. I was able to do all the movements and not have pain, not
yeah,
have an asthma attack,
yeah,
not have any issues and just enjoy it and hang out with people. And just the difference of like that first one to this last one that I did. What a world in between, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. That's awesome. What? How'd you get through? I mean, how did you feel after the first one? Do you remember?
I was sore. I was extremely sore, but I was also really excited that I had been part of that. I think it was a really ambitious goal to go into that
Yeah,
at the stage that I was at in my fitness journey. But I was really proud of myself for even doing the part of it that I did. I thought that was really cool to do and be part of that.
totally. Yeah, and I think people kind of like because every year I do this big campaign. Hey, just come do Murph. It doesn't matter how much you do, just participate. Like whatever. So, yeah, hearing that's pretty cool. Coming up now, I mean, what would you say to people that you probably already said it, but what would you say to people that are newer or feeling like they can't do it?
Just show up. It's I think the same thing like when we do the open. A lot of
Same.
people are really scared about that and doing the open. Like I said, I remember my first one. I have some definite moments in there that, it'll bring you down and it'll check you really quick on where your fitness level really is. But it's also really cool to watch all these people do these things and set these PRs and these new records for themselves that they didn't think it was possible. And so it's just so fun to go watch and participate in and be a part of. And that's coming up in not too long again. And I think everyone should do it.
How much do you feel like those things contributed to the diminishing of your ego? You know what I mean? Like where you acknowledge the fact that like you don't have any something like I think you mentioned you don't have an ego anymore,
Oh,
and which is a good thing. I've said the same. Like jiu-jitsu smashed my ego right out of me when I got.
yes.
I remember when I started, I was 22 and full of testosterone and muscles and I got my butt kicked by this 40-year-old lawyer with a bowl cut over and over and over and
Yeah.
over and over. But I just kept showing up. And like, that's why I tell people the same thing. I said, I don't really have an ego anymore. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, I've gotten my butt kicked by everybody at this point. So it's not, and I'm still here. So it's not that big a deal. So, so by showing up to a Murph, and kind of not necessarily getting your butt kicked, but like,
A little bit.
yeah, a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So doing the open, like how much of that do you feel like contributes like the squashing of your ego by doing hard things and surviving?
So much. It humbles you, but it also motivates you, right? Like it's a reality check for sure. I think the way like the open is designed is it's weeding out the best of the best,
Yep.
and so obviously that's going to come in tiers, and that's going to show you where your weaknesses are and what you might need to work on. And so I think if you can accept that and be like, okay, that's awesome. This is where I want to be next year. Or take it as I just participated in this really cool, fun team event and that was really great. Then that's good for you. But I think going in there with the ego of like, I'm going to smash everything and I'm just going to set all these records, that's probably not the reality that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
I think just going in there to have fun and just see what you can do is the best way to go into it.
Totally. And getting your butt kicked again and survive, like getting through that and realizing that it's still not that big a deal.
Yeah.
I got my butt kicked in front of a couple hundred people at the Long Beach Pyramid at a jiu-jitsu tournament once. Like lost in like 8 like it was awful. Like it was the worst performance I could have ever done. And I was pretty upset by it for, I don't know, probably a week. But again, I think at the end of the day, like nobody was pointing at me in the streets or throwing things at me or telling me to quit and I think that was a really formative experience to realize like it just doesn't matter. Like
it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think people undersell the amount of courage it takes to make yourself get in a situation like that to where you could be humbled really quickly.
Yeah.
It does take courage. But I think it's something that everybody can dig deep and find. And I would encourage in every way. I know back in 2020, one of my goals was to put myself out of my comfort zone and to try new things. And one of the things I did was sign up for an ultra.
Yeah.
And me, who couldn't run around the block, signing up for an ultra as a team relay, that was this wild out there goal that could have just ended me if I didn't train and get ready for it. But in doing that, I remember the first rec race that I did in that same year. I signed up also for a 50-mile rec race. I remember just, being humbled. Part of it I was walking, part of it I was running, but I was doing it was the point. And we came in DFL, so dead fucking last. And we were so proud. We were so proud of ourselves for showing up and doing it. And we didn't get disqualified. We made our times and we got what was the toilet award. And we
had that at the gym.
We had it at the gym for a while. We were all just so proud because it was a group of us ladies who really did just put ourselves out there and out of our comfort zones and do this wild thing to us that was really far out of reach. But it was such a big accomplishment to go and participate in a really cool cause and be part of it. And I think everybody should have moments of that for sure.
Yeah, agreed. I think that excuse me. The ego, just knowing that you just sign up and you put one foot in front of the other, and sometimes you do okay, and sometimes you don't, and it's all good. I think that sometimes the failure, for lack of a better word, is far more important than winning.
Yes, I 1,000% agree with that. I think you learn so much from failure and failing time and time again, and just like this movement that you keep trying to do that you just can't seem to get, but you just keep showing up and putting in the work. Eventually you'll get there. It may take a long time for some of us, 8 years, but you'll eventually get there.
Yeah.
And maybe not. And that's okay because it's just a step in the direction.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about quitting anything in the last, like either whether it's a gym or Krav Maga or anything? Like, has that ever crossed your mind because you were so frustrated?
No, not from frustration. No, I think maybe from time management issues, but I think the value of what I was getting at the gym from both gyms really versus what I would be getting if I did quit. It wasn't there. That's awesome. It was definitely worth it to stick around and push through the hard times.
Yeah. You're more mature than me. I've quit. Hunting is my biggest frustrating ego smashing experience now. And I've quit that 50,000 times. So anyways, that's my lack of maturity. I'm getting better, but again, it's hard. Like sometimes when it's so hard, it's just like, what am I doing this for? Like, what's the point of putting the one foot in front of the other? Because I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. But at a certain point, again, it's just like, well, I'm going to learn from this and I'm going to move forward and I'm going to do the next thing. And eventually you get better. And I think that's just such a healthy perspective that, not to go on a tangent, but I think sometimes kids and people they're so protected from that now.
Yes.
There's kids or adults or anything. Like, I think
I think a lot of people set really lofty goals for themselves, but I think the effort of when you set the goal to the end goal, a lot of people get lost in the in between in the
yeah,
work.
yeah,
And instead of embracing the work, they hate it.
yeah,
It's a
right.
hardship. And I embrace love the work.
Yeah,
You got to love the work and you got to love to dig in and you have to push through the hard times because there are going to be hard times. That's not a question.
right,
It's going to happen.
right.
And there's going to be days where you don't want to go. And there's going to be times where this is the hard thing to do. And you just got to suck it up and you got to show up
Yeah,
and
totally.
do it for yourself, do it for your future self. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. And so I think that is where you really have to learn to just embrace the suck.
Yeah, for sure. The Obstacle's the Way is a good title. It's a good book and a good title of the book, but I think that sums it up. With that in mind, like, so on the nutrition side of things, you would mention the attitude of like, if you have a slip up or you have a bad weekend or bad whatever,
Mm-hmm.
has that, like, how do you find that? Like, not how do you find that, but like the ability to get back on relatively consistently.
It was a lot of trial and error,
Yeah,
honestly. I tried a lot of the quick approaches, like everybody else does,
yeah,
all the bad diets and everything, and realized that, yeah, I can totally lose weight really quick. Anyone can if you get in the right deficit,
yeah,
right? But how enjoyable is it and how maintainable is it is the real thing. And I found that most of them were not maintainable,
yeah,
nor realistic for long term. And so for me, I just realized that like every time that I had quit, I was starting over again.
yeah,
I would have to start, and sometimes starting over in a worse place than where I had originally started.
sure,
And I just didn't want to repeat that cycle.
yeah,
I was so done with it.
yep,
I am still so done with it. I don't ever want to go back to that place. And so that's what makes it easy to continue.
yeah,
And now I'm at, almost the 2 year mark from where I started with that nutrition journey and maintaining it well and still progressing. And, I think in the last 2 months, I've gained 4 pounds of muscle.
yeah.
And that's pretty cool. I think
That's
that's an
awesome.
awesome thing to do. And I would just love to help everybody do that. I think it's such a great thing.
Yeah. Are you coaching anybody in nutrition right now?
No, no, no. I don't do nutrition coaching, just from the sidelines.
Not yet. All
Not
right.
yet.
Yeah. We'll pursue that. That's a conversation offline maybe. But yeah, I mean, again, that it sounds like the attitude for you, just like with we talked about the gym, like this is just life. It's not on or off. It's just life.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Crystal, I think we've done about 40 minutes here, which is what I promised you. So
All
we're going
right.
to sign off unless you have any other words of amazing nuggets that you've to stack on the ones you've already given everybody.
I don't think so. Not
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I'm just so thrilled to have you on the staff and as a part of the gym and to be a part of your story. So I'm not sure how this sounds, but I'm super proud of you and like what you've achieved. It's pretty darn cool. For all the people that started the gym, and I'm sure you've experienced this now, like you believe in everybody, like you just get so excited for them to do what you're doing. And the unfortunate reality is that's not the reality for everybody. So to see you doing it is just like the neatest thing in the whole world. And like I said, it's super awesome to have you on this side of the table now. So
Thanks.
all right, Crystal, thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.